Hi everyone, I'm Warren du Plessis. I'm a professor in the Department of Electrical, Electronic and Computer Engineering in the Faculty of Engineering, Built Environment and Information Technology, and I do not like filling forms in, as I'm sure you can tell. I work predominantly in electronic warfare, which sounds really amazing and is, but it's not nearly as threatening as people might think. I always think it really funny that people like me with my computer and my oscilloscope and my spectrum analyzer, guys like me speak about warfare, and the guys with the guns and the bombs and the tanks and things, they speak about defense. So I think someone's got an image problem. What EW is about is everything in the electromagnetic spectrum. So that's everything from radio waves up to infrared, through optical systems, and even into UV at times. And there are three things one wants to do in EW. Firstly, I want to suck as much information out of the air as I possibly can. So I want to just put a receiver down and receive as much as I possibly can. Second thing, I want to mess with other people using the electromagnetic spectrum, and that's the fun bit. And then thirdly, I want to prevent other people from doing those two things to me. So that's, in a very broad nutshell, what electronic warfare is. The name electronic comes from sort of historical reasons. Back in the day, electronics meant radio or radar, and that's where electronic warfare comes from. So the modern definition of electronic, where it means computers and things like that, is quite a recent phenomenon. So think of electronic warfare as radio, radar, that sort of thing. As you can see, it's extremely broad. It covers basically everything, which is great because I get bored if I have to do the same thing for too long. So it suits me perfectly. In terms of the things that are covered, I work mainly in the radio frequency spectrums, that predominantly communication systems and radar systems, but a little bit of work happening also on some weird optical things, which is good fun. Okay, so if that sounds extremely broad, there's a reason for that, and it is. It covers a whole range of technologies and things that happen in there. So I work mainly on the radio frequency side. So that's mainly communication systems and radar systems. I have students currently working on various weird things with radar. I have students looking at identifying communication signals, because as the radio frequency gets used more and more and more, they're just more and more signals. Maybe not long ago, but in the past, we had the situation where if you received a signal, you've done well. Nowadays, if you put any old radio down, you receive so many signals, it's almost impossible to make sense of what's going on. So being able to figure out what's going on is actually a major issue, and that's what one of my students is currently working on. And he's achieved results as we went to two organizations nearby. One of them gave a bursary, and the bursary one offered him a job, which I thought was rather nice. The one that offered him a job was the one that had originally suggested the idea, so it actually does make sense. Okay, so that idea of having a student work on a topic from industry is something I work very hard to encourage, because I actually spent nearly a decade outside this ivory tower. And coming back to myself, I said, I want to be an engineer. And engineering is about actually doing things in the real world. It's not about doing science and writing a paper about it. It's about stuff that actually matters, stuff that makes a difference in the world. And I don't think I can call myself an engineer if the things my students work on and that I work on don't matter to people outside this place. And so I worked very, very hard to achieve that. And as recently as well, yesterday, I had someone from industry say, wow, that's an amazing list of topics that are of interest to us. And yeah, it's not an accident. I actually worked very hard to do that. And what I found is that most of my students end up going from the university into jobs in the field, which again, I feel is very important. And I've actually helped many of my students seek employment, because I don't want to have students spend a bunch of their life here working with me on something nobody cares about. I mean, it needs to matter. Otherwise, why are we wasting our time doing it? And I must actually tell you a great story about how well that worked once. The one year I had a student who came to me and he wanted to work on a particular final year project. Our students spend their final year working on a project, their first major engineering piece of work. And he came to me at the beginning of the year and he got allocated to me, and he wanted to work on a particular project that I'd already allocated to someone else. And so I said, well, tell me what you like. And he did. And I said, okay, I think you should build this radar. And he gave me a funny look and wandered off and didn't seem that happy about it at the time. About halfway through the year, one of my postgrads is telling me, this guy's heading for a disaster. This is a big mess coming. Guess who was the first student to finish his work that year? This guy. And he actually built an amazing radar system, and it was one of the cleanest, neatest demonstrations I've ever seen. He did really, really well. And that should be where the story ends, but it isn't. The next year, I was sitting in my office the one day, and who should arrive but the student? And he'd come to visit some of his colleagues who are doing postgrad studies with me. And he wandered in and said, Prof, do you know anyone who's hiring in radar? Because I miss it. And he's now actually working at Garmin in the Cape, who build radar systems. And that for me is what it's about. Let's get people excited about something. Let's get people skills that they're not going to pick up anywhere, but skills that industry wants and things that the students are going to enjoy. You don't have to go and work at a bank if you're an engineer. You don't have to go and work at a large industrial company. There are companies all over the country doing the most incredible work, and particularly in EW and radar. There's a company in the Cape where we take radar systems that makes a radar, or was developing a radar, that looks at open cast mines and looks for the movement of the sand, because you don't want to have a landslide when you've got people down in the bottom of a hole. They've got a system that does that. How they do it, I don't know. It's something of a miracle, but they do. And that's here. In the area here, we've got companies that are selling equipment into, well, where do you want to go? People often think South Africa's, the low cost, low value supplier. No, these people are selling into Europe. They're competing with and beating the big European and American names, often in their own market. And those opportunities are happening right here. And again, I'm working very hard to try to get my students to be part of this. We went on a visit to the CSIR last year to see the prototype of the quad-ohm radar that the CSIR is developing in collaboration with Hensoldt South Africa. And that's a high-tech, modern radar system developed right here, just down the road, by people I know, which is even better. And it doesn't have to stand back for anything in the world. In fact, one of their first customers is a major European navy, something that some folks around here developed. That's really impressive. And one of the people working on it actually said to me that he thinks this is probably the most exciting technology project in the country. I had great difficulty disagreeing with him. And that kind of stuff is happening here and now. You don't have to head overseas to be working on the cutting edge with exciting stuff. It's all happening right around me here. In terms of the organizations, I also work with places like Saab. And people think, Saab, they make guns, they make bombs. We're going to be killing people. No. Coming back to the electronic warfare thing, we don't make guns and bombs and kill people. In fact, one of the big things about EW is it's about protecting people more than anything. And one of my colleagues told me the story once of his son was flying in a SAF helicopter, and suddenly the helicopter shot off its sharpened flares. Well, its flares, which it only does if someone's trying to shoot it down. Now, it could have been a false alarm, maybe, or maybe that day, the folks working at Saab saved his son's life. That's what EW is about. It's actually about protecting people. It's about keeping people alive. It's about ensuring that what you do have is used as effectively as possible. Well, one of the other examples I like to get, there was a lovely story I heard from Mozambique where we had a convoy that was attacked, South African troops. And one of our troops hopped on the radio and the whole time just kept communication with the folks back home. And everybody was pulled out alive because someone had a radio, electromagnetic spectrum, to talk to people who would come and help him. Now, if you put those same people in that same situation without the radio, what would have happened? And that's the thing. This electromagnetic spectrum, it sounds like something sort of nebulous and, what is it? I can't touch it. It is incredibly powerful in terms of what one can do. If you look at the story of Ukraine at the moment, basically the big news about Ukraine is everything is jammed everywhere all the time. You can't even use GPS anymore. You're just wasting your time. Exactly the same thing is busy happening in the Middle East at the moment. And the EW things are not about building better drones to go and kill people. They're finding better ways to stop drones from killing people. It's about keeping people alive. And that matters to me. And I'm someone who doesn't do conflict. I mean, I find it difficult to debate with people. So I don't want to get involved in stuff that's going to cause warfare. But I don't. And what's also lovely about this is back when the cell phone companies were busy setting up their original networks, so Vodacom and MTN back in the day, there was no pool of people with experience in the electromagnetic spectrum they could pull from, except the military. And they apparently basically just gutted the military signals corps and brought all those guys in. and they're now filthy stinking rich with all their shares and things. But this technology and these things that one learns, it's not only military applications of it. A lot of the things one learns are applicable across the board. And that's what I love about EW, is it's not just, great, you've done EW, you have to go and work for a military company. No. We've got a company down the road here, Rapid Ends, that makes modems for HF communications. They basically lead the world in this very niche, admittedly, technology, but they lead the world in this technology. Again, they're just down the road here, 15 minutes away. Fantastic. They hire a lot of our students, and they do absolutely incredible work. And again, world-leading work, and it's happening right here. And so for me, the big thing is this collaboration with the industry. I know I keep talking about people outside, but collaboration with industry is so important, because I don't want my students sitting here, as I said earlier, wasting time on something that they're never going to use later. And also, I want my students' work to matter. I don't want my students to work on something that doesn't make a difference, that doesn't firstly prepare them, but secondly, that people outside go, I'm interested in that. I'd really like to know more about what you're doing and try to use it if at all possible. So the whole university idea of make today matter, I want that for my students. I want their studies to matter, not just to them and to me. I mean, obviously they will, but to other people as well. And I just see this happening again and again and again. Another lovely story I can relate is during lockdown, there was a meeting of SARIC, the South African Radar Interest Group. And because it was online, all my postgrads could attend, which was wonderful. And the next day we had our online meeting. And what struck me was one of the first things the student said was, we actually understood what these people are talking about. These are people with decades of industry experience building these incredible systems. And the students could actually know what they were talking about. That's what it's about. Let's do something that's going to teach you skills that can matter. Why am I at a university, not industry? Well, I tried the industry thing. As I said, I was there for basically 10 years. And I enjoyed it, and it's different. But the thing I love about this place is the students. I can't exaggerate how much I love working with the students. I had a colleague some years ago now tell me, all this rubbish about the millennials. They're entitled and lazy and have no interest and don't want to work hard. And I wish I'd done it at the time, but I wanted to go, where? I haven't seen them. Because I see these students who are talented and enthusiastic and hardworking. And if anything, my job is to slow them down. And that's what I love about this job, just the absolute joy and the zeal that these students have. And I feel my job is just to basically set up an environment and let them go. And it's just absolutely incredible to see what comes out of it. I mean, I graduated last millennium, so I've got, over, going on 30 years experience now. But man, these students teach me something almost every day. I was talking to a student earlier today, and I sort of walked out saying, I learned 2 things today, literally from that one discussion. And it is such a privilege to work with young people like that. I sometimes feel that some of my colleagues look at this as a job. It's not. It's a privilege. It's an honor to work with people and to have that opportunity to mold people and move them on into the rest of their life. And that inspires me. I mean, I'm getting goosebumps. Yeah, this is why I'm here. This is what it's about. And I just can't exaggerate how much I love working with the talented, enthusiastic, wonderful young people we have here. So a story I can tell. This year, I found a bunch of AI memes. I teach an AI course in the first semester. I'm not an AI person, but I teach the undergrad course. And what I do is at the start of each lecture, just for the first couple of the semester, I put up a meme. And I just thought, what the heck, it's just funny while we're waiting for the lecture to start. And then the students started commenting, wow, we really enjoy that, which is great. And I realized I'm running out of memes. I don't have enough memes. So I actually asked the class, can you help me? If you find AI memes or AI memes, could you send me things? I now have more memes than I need, and most of them are custom things about stuff I said in the class that someone went and made a meme from. How amazing is that? How wonderful is it to interact with people that not only listening to what you're saying, but are enjoying it enough to take the time to make memes. One of the memes was, there's this photo of the little guy looking at a lady who's busy talking to him. And the thing says, me supposed to be working on my assignment, but actually making memes for class. And the little guy going, it's Prof. Warren. I mean, you can't beat that. That's just brilliant. I absolutely love that. That was just amazing. This morning, just after the test, the students wrote their semester test this morning. One of the students came to me afterwards and said, can't you put memes in the test as well, just to help us reduce the pressure? Okay, great. I'll do that next time. I didn't think it was the best idea, but hey, if the class wants it, I'm game. And this is what I love. It's the people are just so enthusiastic and so joyful. Last year when I walked down to the project laboratory, all my students were sitting basically in 2 rows. And as I walked in, it's like, oh, no, it's Prof. And what they were doing was someone had opened up a web page where it's a quiz of where countries are in the world. And they were just sitting around, playing this game. And they thought me walking in, they had to stop and look like they're working. I don't care. They're enjoying themselves. And what's great is that group was getting to know each other and they supported each other through the year. And it's amazing to see this. It's amazing to see people learning and growing, but also being human. And that's what I so enjoy. So I absolutely love it here, at least in terms of the students. I mean, every employer has its bad stuff. As I like to tell people, they wouldn't have to pay you if it was all fun. But I absolutely love the students. They would keep me here. During the holidays, when there aren't students on campus, it's dead. There's no other word for it. It's actually dead. The place doesn't just feel quiet. It feels like it's missing life. I came in about 2 weeks, 3 weeks before the semester started, and the whole place is dead. Since the students are back, it's alive again, and there's a buzz, and I absolutely love that. So if you enjoy science and technology, then this is the kind of stuff for you. There is maths in there, but maths is a tool. There are computers in there. Computers are a tool. It's really about learning and growing and understanding and putting it all together to make systems, to make things that work in the real world, to make things that are going to create employment at the companies around the university. That's what it's about. That's what engineering fundamentally about. And particularly in electronic engineering, which is my main field, a bit of computer engineering as well, but mainly electronic engineering. It's about putting it all together to make sensors and systems that work with the electromagnetic spectrum, with waves, with whatever. Essentially, anything high-tech ends up being electronic somewhere along the line. So if that's what tickles you, if you want to learn more about the stuff that's happening, if you want to have a career where every day of your life you can learn something new, then engineering is for you. Absolutely. If you don't like a challenge, maybe not. Engineering is challenging, but is it worth it? Oh, absolutely. I have loved my career. I've done everything from work in an environment where we were mass producing devices. They told me in the end they produced 60,000+ of them. I worked in another place where it was bespoke one-off systems, and I worked at the university, and everyone was different, and everyone was interesting, and everyone was amazing. And if you just want to make money, maybe find something else. But if you want to make good money and never get bored, engineering all the way. So let's continue to do what we're supposed to do. Let's make today matter. Let's build towards a better future. And yeah, thank you so much. And I hope that was in some way useful.